What's up, guys? This is Holding Alice with you here, bringing you Black Clover anime review, episode 68, titled Battle to the Death, Captain Yami vs. Captain Jack. And as the title implied, this episode was basically a Jack versus Yami fight, and it begins with part round one. And part one, the first half of this episode, or round one I should say for them, they were competing with their stands. They both had food stands in this festival, and Captain Jack was selling meat. And when it came to Yami, he was selling fried squid. So they were competing, but nobody was buying their stuff. And it's funny because they try to, advertise and stuff, but everyone just ignoring them and just keep passing by. And their captains are threatening them. Yami's threatening Asta, and Captain Jack is threatening Buha, or Saki's his real name, but I'm gonna call him Buha because that's what everyone else call him. And Baha, and Baha is just getting picked on, and his two friends are with them, and they're getting picked on by Captain Jack, and he's threatening them, if you don't get me more customers, I'm gonna cut you up. And then Yami said something similar to Asta, and they work super hard to get people, but nobody listens to them. Then we have Noelle walking around trying to find Asta because she felt bad that she blasted him away. And she finally sees them, and that's when she sees what they're doing. And we get to see it as well, and it's hilarious seeing them trying to get customers, and they're failing horribly. And then they both, captains, Jack and Yami, came to an agreement that this is useless, we're not going to get nobody, we have these useless fools working for us. Let's continue this in a bout. So they started playing rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and it was kind of weird because it was they were actually throwing punches at each other, and then when the other person would dodge, they never show what their hand size was. So it was they both throw a punch at each other, then they show the hand size, hand sign, and whoever won gets to tell the loser which way to look. And they just kept on going back and forth until they both got bored. Then they started hitting each other with their butts. To it's like a sumo wrestler type of style, and they just kept on doing all these weird things to each other to see who was better than who. And then after a while they got tired of this, and it was you know what, let's get serious and really finish this. And he was yeah, you know what, I got the perfect spot for this. And Yami was Noelle, go get Finro. And she got Finro, and basically he told Finro to teleport all of them to where they fought Light at, Lich, which basically mean light. And they went back to that cave, and that's where they were fighting. And in this episode, we had an old woman in between them. Well, she had a shop, and she was selling fried poison pepper snakes. Or pepper snakes, I believe it was called. And, Asta wanted some, but, Yami ain't let him go over there. And when they all teleported over here to this new area, we noticed that in the shadows, this old lady was watching. And she's ooh, Captain Jack and Yami's gonna go at it with their powerful magic. Hopefully they have new techniques. And I'm wait a minute, this sounds kind of familiar. So just keep that old lady in mind. But as she's watching the fight, they get throwing their techniques at each other. And they're just going back and forth. Then Noelle brings up a good point. She states that if they keep fighting and they get serious, this place could collapse, or one of them could get hurt, or we could all get hurt. And that was damaged not just the Knights' reputation, but that will also damage the Knights' companies themselves, which in turn would be bad for the people because the Knights protect the people. So she made Finro, stop him, and he was but why do I have to do it? And she's because I'm royalty and I told you to do it. And he was but that has nothing to do with the situation. But she told him to shut up and go, and he tried, but then Captain Yami just kicked him, and Baha laughed, and he was yeah, you useless. And she was you're still here? Who are you? And she just kept on making fun of him like that. And when they were about to finally clash with their most powerful techniques, Yami with his new spell that he got from the underwater temple, the Darkness Dimension Slash, and Scissor Cut with that, which is Captain Jack's. When they was about to collide, that's when the old lady steps in, and she freezes him in time. And we get to see who the old lady was. It was actually the Wizard King pretending to be an old lady, just spy on his two people, see what magic or what they would produce for the kingdom, as he always does. Because the Wizard King, as you see in my thumbnail, he's a troll. He loves to troll his people and everybody else. So he time passes them, And he also time paused Asta, Noel, and Finville and Baja as well. And he was like, Noel brings up a good point. If y'all fight, this is not going to benefit anybody. If anything, it's going to do more harm. So I need y'all to stop fighting. But remember, they time frozen, so they don't know really what's going on. And that's when we get, I believe his name is Marks or Max, the guy with the bob haircut, blue hair, the Wizard King's apprentice or right hand man. He calls him. And he's like, I've been trying to call you all day. You need to hurry up and come back because the king is waiting for you. Because you need to give out the Star Festival awards. And he's like, okay, I'll be there in a minute. Let me just finish this up. He's like, don't be too angry now. Your blood pressure's going to get high. And he's like, I wonder who fault is this? If you finally pick up, and then the Wizard King just shut off the line and then let him finish his sentence. Which, like I said, he's a troll all the way. So after that, he decides to leave. Before he leaves and unpauses everything and everybody, he snaps his fingers towards Jack and Yami and then smiles and teleports them to like beams of light and vanishes. And when the time got unfrozen and they were about to collide, their pants rips and fall off and they're in their underwear. And then they both fall to the floor like this and they just laugh at each other. And they're like, you know what? We're laughing too hard and this is too much fun. Let's just call it a draw. And Jack was like, yeah, I don't feel like cutting you up either. Let's just call this a draw. So they went back and they started sharing food, and Jack was making food for Yami and Yami was making food for Jack, and they were having a good moment, being nice and chill for once. Didn't last long because Yami was like, oh, I have this many losses and wins against you, and this is how many draws we have. And when Jack heard this, he just stood up the end. He's like, oh, no, you're crazy. I have this many wins, this many losses, and this many draws against you. And Captain Yami was like, no, I have this many. And they just kept on one-upping each other in the numbers of wins and losses. And to the point where they started redrawing their weapons against that fight. Then Noel told, Asta get involved and stop this. And when he tried, Captain Yami just picked them up and just flung them somewhere. And while he's getting flung screaming no, we see what everybody else is doing in the Black Bulls. They're all together eating and drinking in a pub. And Finwell gets there and he's like super exhausted and tired. And Vanessa was like, oh, you picking up chicks and one of them dumped you? And he's like, I wish, but I was actually busy doing work. And she's actually being nice to him, and she's like, here, drink, come on, let's drink up together and have fun. This is a festival after all. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So they hit cheers and started drinking. Then you see Asta flying by them. And Gordon was like, oh, I couldn't imagine where you went. Captain Yami must have asked you for help and used his spiritual magic to go somewhere. Of course, though, when he speaks, all we hear is mumble, and we hear his subtitles. We don't really hear him speak, so that's the funny thing about Gordon. While you've seen Asta in the background just flying past by, saying no, screaming, until he finally crashes to this one beautiful fancy part of the festival, where everyone looks like rich people. The tents are nice and beautiful, the people are dressed well, there's more lights and it's brighter in this area, and we see some people talking about this beautiful chick that every guy wants to approach, but they're afraid to because of how beautiful she is. And Asta wanted to be nosy because he heard, beautiful. He's like, wow, I couldn't imagine Fenrir probably talking to her. Let me see what she looks like. And when he went to go see what she looks like, we actually get to see her picture. And that's when the episode ends. And she was a very beautiful lady. She had long blonde hair. She had like a ponytail in the middle of her hair, like wrapped up in braids. She was wearing this nice blue fancy dress with a shell on, nice blue eyes. She looked very pretty. Now, Asta did state that she looks familiar, and we do know who she is. If y'all don't know who he is, if you don't know who she is, I'm not going to spoil it, but we do know who she is. But then if you watch the previews, then you probably already got spoiled. But I'm not going to say who it is. I'll let y'all figure it out for those who don't watch previews on anime only. But y'all should know who it is, but y'all wait till next episode. But that was the episode. Very good episode, very funny. Everything in the episode was filler, except for the part with Asta actually meeting this chick. This is when we get into more canon materials. And even though this was a filler episode, it was a real good filler episode. It was funny. We did get to see Koha and her brother do more dancing and singing for people while Asta is getting flung. and they even see Asta and they stop to look at him. It was hilarious, but good. But yeah, episode 68 of Black Clover, really great episode. If you haven't seen it, I advise you to go see it. If you've already seen it, go see it again. It had really great episode. Even though it was filler, like I said earlier, it was extremely funny, and it does tie in with certain things that's going to happen in the future, so just keep that in mind. But again, it was a filler episode, so it was just good for laughs. Which I have to admit, that's the one thing Black Clover does really well, is they filler episodes. Even though it's not many, they do tie in certain things, and it could be like, even though they filler, it feels like it cannot be filler at the same time. So how well they made the episodes. But I have to say, I was kind of scared when Studio Period got the license for Black Clover. But so far, they've been doing pretty damn good, especially with the second half. The art and animation has picked up a lot, so can't wait for more. But that's all I have for you guys. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Forgive me for my voice if I seem kind of like stuttering and offbeat. I have a cold, so forgive me for that. But like, comment, share, subscribe, share with your family and friends. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I post an upload. Follow me on Twitter, link will be down below. And tell me down below what you think of this episode and what you liked if you've already seen it. If you haven't seen it, again, I advise you to go watch it. Great episode. But that's all I have for you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Have a good one, guys.